UFC 327 is this weekend. Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg, with the co-main of no longer Joshua Van Tatzer retired, that has been moved to UFC 328 a month back. But Asmat Mirzakhanov versus Paulo Costa is not the worst co-main we've ever seen. I'm gonna go over each and every single fight, give my review and breakdown of what I think is gonna happen. Let's get to it. I went 10-3 last week. Got Makeshift, or not Makeshift, Moicano Duncan correct. So let's see if I can do better this week, dude. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. So first off, we got Charles Radke, Francisco Prado. Not the best looking records for both, but Charles Radke in the UFC has only lost to Mike Malott and Carlos Prates. There may be one more. I don't think so. I think he's only lost to Prates and Mike Malott, which is not that bad at all. On the other hand, Francisco Prado has lost to Daniel Zellhuber. Yeah. He may have lighter man's skill, but you lost to Daniel Zellhuber down at lighter weight, down at that lighter man skill. So you must suck. You know, Francisco Prado, he's Argentinian, so he's gonna be up the card with Esteban Ribovic. They're gonna be kind of a team, but I just don't think Prado has anything that Charles Radke hasn't seen that someone is better at. He's not going to have so much power where he's going to be afraid, like he hasn't gone against a Prates or Malott yet. And I don't think he's going to be able to out-grapple Radke. Radke's got some good grappling. He's coming off a submission win. He went for the finish, you know, dominated the guy throughout the whole entire round. Submitted him in the third. Went for the finish. I like it. You know, Radke's got power too. Not the best defensively striking, and I don't like his combos too much, but I think he's good enough and powerful enough where he can kind of have Francisco Prado at bay and he can kind of pick and choose on where he wants the fight to go. So I think he's going to do better on the ground, on the feet, anywhere. You know, he's coming in a little bit shorter, but has like a 3-inch reach advantage. Yeah, 3-inch reach advantage, 2-inch leg reach advantage. I like that. So I'm going to go with Charles Radke. Knockout or third round knockout or decision. I think once you get to the later rounds is when it's really going to be you're going to really see who breaks. And I'm going off of that. Francisco Prado will break, but does he break enough to get the finish? I think so. I think I'll set in a Charles Radke round 3 KO, but I also think Charles Radke by points by decision is also a good pick. So Charles Radke by decision or third round knockout. Moving up, Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin. Okay. That's cool. Don't look at these. This is Kelvin Gastelum, Vicente Luque. Crud. How do I? There we go. Give me a second. UFC, you know, this $1 million company, $1 billion company isn't doing the best. Let me just do this since I can't do it on the UFC thing. Kelvin Gastelum, Vicente Luque. You know, Luque's moving up. I'm spoiling it. Oh, you can't even see it. You got it spoiled. I'm going with Gastelum round 2 KO. I think Luque, you know, he's moving up. Got submitted by Kevin Holland, got basically knocked out by Joel Alvarez. I just don't think he's all there. Meanwhile, you know, Gastelum's coming off of that win over Dustin Stolfus, where he's kind of trading blows back and forth, and he's never really getting hurt too much. And then, you know, he got knocked down by Pyfer, but even then, that's Pyfer. He only got knocked down, and then he went back to it. Had a really good third round where he could have won it. I think he did win it on some scorecards. But yeah, Luque's just not the same, dude. Not the same. You know, 2010, you know, Luque's got a lot of wins, but, you know, Gastelum is the favorite. Same age. Luque's a little bit taller with a 4.5 reach advantage. But I just don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's going to work for him. You know, when you do, Luque's whole thing is, you know, he'll get cracked, he'll crack back. He's gritty, he's tough, he's in there all the time. But for Gastelum, you don't want to be cracking back with Gastelum, because all of the weight that he has just builds up into that chin of his. That Mexican chin of his, dude, he ain't gonna get knocked out. He just isn't. Gastelum isn't the type of guy you knock out. I don't see Vicente Luque pulling a grappling game, like having a crazy good grappling game where he just ragdolls Gastelum. Gastelum's hard to move around, dude. Gastelum's hard to move around, you know. Now, the biggest question is Gastelum going to make weight? That's kind of the biggest question that happens. Will he look good on weigh-in day? But I think I'm going to trust him. You know, he's got the power, he's got the durability. You know, Luque's on his way out. I don't know why he took this fight. He should have taken an easier fight. Down at a welterweight one last time, just get an easy win, get on their way out. But he's going against Gastelum, dude. Gastelum's really good. That Piper fight looks really good in hindsight. You know, he's got beat D-Rod too. Like, he's got, you know, Chris Curtis is a good win. You know, got submitted by Sean Brady. He's got some good wins, you know, and I just don't see Vicente Luque being able to pull it off. So I'm going to go with Gastelum, round 2 KO. He's going to hurt him bad in the second, and he'll get put away. Moving up, Chris Padilla versus Markel Medeiros. I'm going to go with Chris Padilla. You know, he looked really good against that Ishmael Bonfirm win. Just beat him up on the ground everywhere. And Markel Medeiros went to a split decision with Austin Hubbard. Now, I will say it shouldn't have been a split decision. Markel Medeiros obviously won rounds 1 and 3. It shouldn't have been a split decision. But still, that was close with Austin Hubbard, who, you know, he worked a bit of a grappling game on Markel Medeiros, who he's 11-1, has the better record, but he's only knocked out or gone to a decision. Chris Padilla's got a nasty ground game too. He's got a nasty ground game. I think Padilla's going to give him some problems on the feet. You know, I think Ishmael Bonfirm is really good, you know. You don't flying knee McKinney, and you have no promise at lightweight. I think he's really good. And I think Chris Padilla is just a little too gritty, a little too much for Markel Medeiros. Now, he is a little bit shorter. He's got a 4.5-inch reach advantage. He's going to keep on peppering Markel Medeiros, who, once you start initiating that takedown and getting that takedown threat in his mind, his hands are really low. Look at round 3. The start of round 3 for the Austin Hubbard fight, he gets pieced up for quite a bit before Austin Hubbard shoots a lazy takedown, ends up on bottom. Or no, he tried to takedown, got it, and then he fell off top on the bottom. That's what it was. But yeah, I'm not too impressed with Markel Medeiros, you know. Beating Austin Hubbard, beat somebody else. I just don't see him being like that big of a threat where I'm gonna watch out for him, you know. So I'm gonna go with Chris Padilla, round 2 submission. You know, Austin Hubbard almost got that round 2 submission in their first fight. Not in their first fight, in their last fight. Is that his last fight? No. Split decision with Austin Hubbard, then Mark Chwinsky. He got a unanimous decision. But, you know, Chris Padilla's got a lot of experience, you know. And I don't think Markel Medeiros is going to be able to get it done. So, Chris Padilla, round 2 submission, rear naked choke. That's one of Chris Padilla's best chokes. He got a whole bunch of them on the regional scene early in his career. I think he'll get another one. Markel gives up his back very easy. Very, very easy does Markel give up his back. You know, Austin Hubbard, he instantly gave up his back. As soon as grappling was initiated, he instantly gave up his back. And Austin Hubbard didn't want to go for a slam or anything, I guess, because he didn't want to gas out. But I think Padilla will take that. And he's a little physical. He's pretty physical, so I think he would slam, get him down, get that back easy. Round 2. I think round 1 is going to be kind of feeling each other out. Medeiros may win. He's a little bit quicker, a little bit better on the feet, maybe. But even then, I think Chris Padilla can work in some good combos on the counter. So, Chris Padilla, round 2, submission. All right, rear naked choke. Moving up, we have to the prelims. Okay, that's not what I wanted, UFC. Okay, there we go. Oh. Okay. Now this one is tough, because Tatiana Suarez sucks, but it's WMA, and she can get takedowns. And do I trust takedowns? But she doesn't get too many takedowns, but, you know, Zhang Weili stuffed her takedowns, but Zhang Weili's really, really good. So, like, how much do I hold Tatiana Suarez on not getting a takedown on Zhang Weili when it's Zhang Weili? Lupi Godinez is not Zhang Weili. Since you don't have the odds, I'll give you the odds. Suarez is the slight favorite. Also, Chris Padilla is the slight favorite, and Gastelum's the slight favorite, and Radke is the slight favorite. So I've only taken favorites right now. That'll change soon. Uh, um, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Tatiana Suarez. She's faced a little bit better competition. She doesn't have as much of a experience as Lupi Godinez. 14-5 to 12-1. But she's big, dude. 5'5", 66-inch reach. That's a 5-inch reach advantage, 4-inch leg reach advantage. She's gonna have so much leverage on Lupi Godinez. And Lupi Godinez is just not so much of a threat. Now I will say Suarez arguably lost to Amanda Lemos, arguably, but like Jessica Andrade, she submitted Montana De La Rosa, Nina Nunes decisioned her, and Lupi Godinez lost to Dern and Verno Jandaroa, which are top of the division people, but she got a split decision over Tabitha Ritchie. A split decision? We're split decisioning Tabitha Ritchie now. What are we doing? What are we doing? So I'm going to go with Tatiana Suarez by, you guess it, decision. A nice, solid decision. Winning the first and second. Heavy takedowns. Not really doing too much with them, but it's WMA, so they have special rules for WMA. So Suarez will get takedowns that don't do anything, but they will matter more than the tiny little pop shots that Godinez does. And then I think Godinez will start almost finishing her in the third, and just won't have enough to finish her in the third, and then we'll have that Tatiana Suarez classic round 1 and 2 decision, 29-28. I do think though, her being with Patchy Mix makes me scared, dude. Like if you're rubbing elbows with Patchy Mix, with Trashy Mix, I'm scared for you. I'm scared. But I'm going to trust her right now. I'm going to trust. Moving up. The real main event. Mateusz Gamrot, Esteban Ribovic. We all think that this is the real main event of the night. Because this is a pretty cool fight, Mateusz Gamrot, 25-4, 1-no contest. Esteban Ribovic, 15-2. Gamrot's coming off of that submission loss from Oliveira. Got rear naked choked. But it's Oliveira. We've seen after that Holloway performance, he's still very much in the game. Esteban Ribovic coming off of a win over Elvis Brenner. And then, he lost to Nazareth Haqparast, split decision loss. Daniel Zellhuber, split decision win. KO'd McKinney. Kamala Kirk. I just think Ludovic Klein is so much better than Esteban Ribovic, in my opinion. Crispier boxing, has better grappling just from what we've seen. And he's got nasty, like you saw against the Rebecca fight. If he's on bottom, he's going to go cause damage. And, Mateusz Gamrot shut that all down, didn't let him do anything. I think this is a Gamrot decision. Ribovic is not proven in anywhere where I can think he'll win. Whereas Gamrot, coming off that loss to Oliveira does suck, but it's not the worst loss ever. He's only 35, Ribovic is barely 30, Gamrot has the reach advantage, but he won't do anything with it because he doesn't throw jabs. But, he may grab a single leg, 1.5 inches out of range quicker than Esteban can respond with. I'm going to go with Gamrot. I think just the volume, when dealing with so much of a volume takedown threat, you're going to really lose on that output side. You're going to really lower your output on throwing the hands, on letting, getting on one foot for kicks. It really limits you against someone like a Gamrot who can just takedown, be very, very gritty in his takedowns. And he also has telekinesis, He blew up Fiziez's leg with his mind. Oliveira almost got it. He's lucky he got it. He's lucky he got Gamrot out of there, because come round 3, Gamrot was going to and then probably blow up Oliveira's arm or something. But I'm going to go with Gamrot. No telekinesis will be needed this time. He'll probably 30-27, 29-28 him. Lose the third round too. I do think this will be a fun fight though, because Gamrot was going to have to show some grit at some point. And Ribovic is going to have his, his last stand. He's going, ah! He's probably yelling at Gamrot in round 3. Ah! Ah! Throwing punches at him. I think this will be a decently fun fight. So going with Gamrot by decision. Moving up, Kevin Holland, Randy Brown. Kevin Holland 28-15-1. Randy Brown 20-7. By the way, Kevin Holland is 15-12 in the UFC, just so you know. Both 6'3". Kevin Holland's kind of going in between welterweight, middleweight, somewhere like that. He's kind of sticking at middleweight recently. 3-inch reach advantage. 5.5 leg reach disadvantage. The thing is, Randy Brown looks so bad against Gabriel Bonfirm. And I know Gabriel Bonfirm's decent. He's decent. He just didn't impress me, dude. Lost to Brian Battle, split decision. That's not the best looking split decision loss ever. I know it was a robbery, but still, you're doing Brian Battle. But then you have Kevin Holland, loses to Mike Malott, not the worst. But then Daniel Rodriguez, you're having an all-out brawl war with him. Submits Vicente Luque, Gunnar Nelson, any decisions. Got submitted by Rainer de Ritter, but that was at middleweight. De Ritter had, some heft on him. And then, Randy Brown, Zaleski dos Santos, decisions him. That's decent. KO's Muslim Salikov, the Karate Kid. Kevin Holland, 5 months ago, he just kind of stood there at range against Mike Malott. But I think I am going to have to go with Kevin Holland. He's just a little bit more powerful. He's got that. Randy Brown's kind of. After that Gabriel Bonfirm fight, dude, I don't know what to think. He kind of just stood there and got beat up. Like, Kevin Holland, he's lost a lot, yeah, but recently he's never got shut out like he did, like Gabriel Bonfirm, pitched a shutout inning, a shutout game against Randy Brown. Just completely demolished him on the feet. And I think Kevin Holland wouldn't have, I think he'd have a little bit more success against a Gabriel Bonfirm. I think. I'm gonna have to go with Kevin Holland, dude. I think he's just got the power and he's got the kind of the unorthodoxness. Now I am scared because I've seen stuff on his Instagram. He's posting him smoking weed and him, him on the farm and stuff like that, which is scary. It is worrying how much he really is in the game still. But I do think he wants to at least end on a win. He wants money. He knows if he loses again, it's not going to be good. Kevin Holland always loses too. He's looked really bad. Everyone counts him out. No one picks him. And then he'll just win. That's just how it is. And I hate to have that as my reason. My be above all reason. But, so I am going to go with Kevin Holland. I think he'll get it done in round 2. A round 2 knockout. Randy Brown may look good, but he just always gets caught in round 2. So Randy Brown, round 2 knockout. Kevin Holland, round 2 knockout. I don't think Randy Brown can KO Kevin Holland. He's got a chin on him, The D-Rod fight was a little surprising, but you can't tell me that Mike Malott's going to not be able to find the finish on Kevin Holland, but Randy Brown is. I don't see that happening. So Kevin Holland, round 2 KO. Moving up, Pitbull, Aaron Pico. I know we had trash versus garbage last week. This is mediocre versus above average. Kind of just above average. It's just above average versus mediocre. Here's the thing, you guys. Aaron Pico, Patricio Pitbull in an interview said himself, he's got hands that could shake the earth, but a chin that could get him dropped from a slap to behind the ear. And that is true, Pico, a lot of power, not a lot of fortitude. Boom. That's a quote. I just think Pitbull's a little bit more well-proven. The Dan Ige win, even though Dan Ige just got shut out by Miguel Costa, he shut him down. Dan Ige still is he's a tough guy. He's hard to beat, and Pitbull worked in the grappling, worked in the strikes. He hurt Ige once. He did get head kicked by Ige, but he took a head kick from Ige. Head kick, a pure knee head kick to the dome, and he still was good. Now Aaron Pico, he's scary, but I think, dude, on the coming, he's just so open. If Lerone Murphy looked really good against Evloev on the feet and he was going crazy and, Evloev just like had a grapple to get by, I would maybe pick Pico. But after how you have Evloev out striking Murphy, I know there is the takedown threat, but Aaron Pico's got a takedown threat. And, you can maybe say, well, Murphy just, got lucky on Aaron Pico. He's not going to get lucky. Patricky Pitbull's not going to get lucky on this Aaron Pico. But I don't know, dude. When so many people get lucky to you, you've been KO'd like, what is that, 4 of his 5 losses are KOs, flatline KOs. Pitbull's just a little bit more proven. The Yair fight was, he lost it, but he at least showed that he's at least competent enough in the UFC. Whereas Pico, I think if Pico, was put against Yair would flatline KO him probably. Maybe he'd flatline Yair because Yair, little, little bit of a baby. When put with pressure, but I think Yair would have flatlined Pico, and Pitbull, he didn't do the best, but he at least stayed in there and was competitive until the third, where he got almost put away. I'm gonna go with a Pico round 1 KO, dude. It's just Pitbull round 1 KO over Pico. I just don't trust Pico. I don't know how you can pick Pico after such a devastating loss that he's just coming off of. 76% of people are picking Pico on Tapology, with Pitbull being a plus 250 underdog. My first big underdog. Kevin Holland's also an underdog, plus 120. Gamrot's a favorite. It's kind of 50-50. More people are picking Holland on Tapology, actually. I'm going with Aaron Pico, dude. Round 1 KO. I think Pico's just I'm going with Pitbull. I'm missing it up. I'm going with Pitbull because Pico is way too open on the come-in. I think Pitbull, worst case scenario, he can make it gritty. I don't know if Pico likes making it a gritty fight. I don't know if his chin will allow him to survive a gritty fight with a Pitbull. Boom. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Patricky Pitbull by round 1 KO or decision, but I can see just Pico doing the same thing where he tries to kind of show dominance. He tries to put his own pace in there, and he just gets caught on the come in. Because he's kind of he's too in his head of thinking, well, I gotta make a statement. Overhand right from Pitbull, you're out cold. So yeah, Pitbull, round 1 KO. Alright. Cub Swanson, Nate Landwehr. We're on the main card, and this is probably one of the most beautiful fights I think ever. Nate Landwehr coming off a loss from Morgan Charrier. Cub Swanson coming off a KO win over Billy Quarantillo. 30-14 against 18-7. 5'8" versus 5'9". Landwehr's got that reach advantage and that leg reach advantage, and I'm going with Nate Landwehr. I'm going with Nate the Train. Billy Quarantillo sucks. Cub Swanson beat him, and Cub Swanson's on a win-loss kind of pattern. And you know what I say about patterns? Most of the time when I pick a person to win based off patterns, that happens. Cub Swanson's due for a loss. I think the Billy Quarantillo fight, so many times, Billy Quarantillo would hurt Cub Swanson with something, and he just kind of would reset or shoot a takedown or do something that wouldn't really capitalize off of the damage he's just caused, off of the reaction he got out of Cub Swanson. It lets Cub Swanson work his way back in, and he'll crack you back, and he's got his hands low, and it's unorthodox, and he's hard to kind of see where the shots are coming from Swanson because he's down here, and he'll loop up a high lead hook and then finish with that cross, and he'll knock you out. But Nate Landwehr is just different, dude. He's just different. Got KO'd by Morgan Charrier. So what? Doo Ho Choi, the 2-fight losing streak, Doo Ho Choi put him in a crucifix and was like baby tapping him with elbows, and it was like 1 second left, and they called the fight just cause. It's not like Landwehr was getting completely shut down and he was getting shown levels. It was pretty competitive. Doo Ho Choi got him in a crucifix, which isn't good in the first place, but it was kind of a baby stoppage. And then before that, he beat Jamal Emmers, who's pretty good. Austin Lingo submitted him. He has a win over, lost to Danny Gay. Not the best, but Danny Gay's decent. Danny Gay's decent. Just because you lose a fight against Costa doesn't mean you're not good. Um, and Nate Landwehr beat Ludovic Klein. I know it was a dehydrated shell of himself, Ludovic Klein, but that's still Ludovic Klein. That's a very good looking win. Where Nate Landwehr just poured it onto him and broke him in the later rounds and got that win. I think Nate Landwehr is going to get this win over Cub Swanson. He's a little old. Cub Swanson is actually very old. How old is he? 42. Nate Landwehr is 37. I think this is probably Cub Swanson's retirement fight. He's the last of the WEC era. World Entertainment Championship. I don't know. Something like that. But I just don't see Cub Swanson winning this. I think Landwehr is too gritty for Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson likes kind of a trade back and forth, and if it gets gritty, he'll kind of outgrit them because they're a little green and they're not too used to kind of a endurance match against a Cub Swanson. But Hakeem Doodoo, Cub Swanson kind of lost that fight. Andre Philly split decision. Not the worst. Jonathan Martinez got KO'd via leg kicks, and then he KO'd Darren Elkins. Welcome to the club, pal. I could probably KO Darren Elkins. I just think Cub Swanson, if when Nate Landwehr gets into a war, even Morgan Charrier, very close fight until the very end, and he's cracking Morgan Charrier back, putting Morgan Charrier in a lot of trouble. And he's nasty at following up when he gets you hurt. Morgan Charrier recovered well, but that's a young Morgan Charrier with some power on him. And Cub Swanson's got power, but how much power does he have at 41 years old compared to Nate Landwehr? I'm going Nate the Train, round 2 KO. Okay? Round 2 KO from Nate the Train. Moving up to Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker. I mean, it's just a beautiful sight. Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker. Reyes coming off of that fluke loss to Ulberg. Walker, getting a win over Zhang Min Yang. I'm gonna go with Dominic Reyes, dude. I'm gonna go with Dominic Reyes. He's deadly on the back foot, and Johnny Walker, he gets KO'd in his sparring sessions and stuff like that by like a 17-year-old kid or whatever. And Dominic Reyes, it's not a good look. Him getting put out cold by Ulberg. But who has put Dominic Reyes out besides Ryan Spann? Dominic Reyes has been put out by... He lost to John Jones. He lost to... What's his name? Jan Blachowicz, Yuri. Like, he's losing to crazy people. And even then, he was surviving crazy shots from them. He was hitting it back. People forget. He flash knocked out Yuri with an up kick. Was hurt, stinging Yuri bad throughout that whole entire fight. Even though it was like 2 or 3 rounds. I forget. I think just Dominic Reyes is so deadly. So deadly. And I think Johnny Walker just isn't, a win over Zhang Min Yang. Ozdemir's KOing you. Ankalaev's KOing you. You draw with Ankalaev. You get a decision over Anthony Smith. I know that was Prime Smith. That was 3 years ago, Anthony Smith, but come on. Reyes was on a 3-fight KO streak before Ulberg. Before Ulberg. Nikita Krylov, that win's looking decent over after that Modestas Bukauskas win. Anthony Smith, it's Anthony Smith. And then Dustin Jacoby is a really good win. Really good win. Dustin Jacoby's dangerous. He's powerful. Reyes is the favorite, by the way. Nate Landwehr's the favorite, But everyone's picking Swanson on Tapology. And also everyone's picking Reyes. 93.6% KO for Reyes, 93.6 KO for Walker on Tapology. So everyone's picking, KO. 0.2 for submission. I just don't think Walker's going to be able to get a ground game off. Reyes has some really good anti-grappling. I think if Walker tries to run in, making something hit, I think he's going to get annoyed by Reyes on the back foot. He's going to be annoyed because Reyes is kind of going to make it stink and lame for a little bit. He's going to be on that back foot. He's going to be waiting. And then Walker's going to come in there. He's going to do the retard rush like we talked about the last card. He's going to pull off the retard rush, and he's going to get countered. Knocked out cold in round 1. So I'm going to go with Dominic Reyes. round one KO. I just trust Reyes a lot more than I trust Johnny Walker because Reyes he loses to better competition in my opinion. He's faced better competition. He just is always not the best competition. He can do decent against good competition, destroy bad competition, and he'll get destroyed by the best of the best. And Johnny Walker is kind of just all over the place. He's all over the place. I'm sorry, but Jamal Hill's KOing you. I think such a guy that's as dangerous as Dominic Reyes is gonna get that KO blow too, in round one. But moving up, feature fight, right? Yeah, feature fight. Curtis Blades, Josh Hockett. Now, let me read you the odds real quick. Curtis Blades is only a minus 145 favorite. Hockett is a plus 120 underdog. This is almost pick'ems. I do get Josh Hockett's young, 28. Curtis Blades, 35. He's in his prime, though. 6'4 to 6'1, dude. 6'4 to 6'1. He's just so, look at that. 258 to 234. A 6.5 reach advantage. A 3-inch leg advantage. A 3-inch leg reach advantage. I just don't see what Josh Hockett can do where Curtis Blades hasn't been here before. I don't think Josh Hockett's as dangerous as Sergey Pavlovich. I don't think Josh Hockett can out-grapple Blades like an Almeida. And even then, Almeida couldn't get him done. I just don't see, the Verzvan Kuniev fight that Curtis Blades had, split decision win. Is it the best look? No. It's not. It's absolutely not. But that's Verzvan Kuniev. He beat Almeida. He looked decent, steroids. But I think Curtis Blades is just so if you combined all of Josh Hockett's wins, he's 8-0. If you combine all of his wins, their records together, Curtis Blades would have half of those of his opponents. He's just so young. He's so young in the game. He's 8-0 and 28, dude. Let's slow it down. This was awful for him. Curtis Blades is ranked what? Number 5. Josh Hockett's unranked, and we're throwing this in. I think Curtis Blades is gonna get a round 2 KO. Round 1, round 2 KO. I'm gonna stick with a round 2, because I think round 1 is gonna be kind of feeling out like this Josh Hockett guy. He is explosive. He is dangerous. He's quick, but I think he's just too small. He's way too small. And I do think if he works into it, he can start learning to use his size to an advantage. But right now, when you only go against fat blobs, you can just outspeed them and not really worry about anything too much. But Curtis Blades can be a little too crafty for Josh Hockett, in my opinion. I do like Josh Hockett. I hope he doesn't get demolished, but I do think he's going to get KO'd in the second ground and pound. Once Curtis Blades gets on top of you, it's not a good time. And I know Josh Hockett's a decent wrestler, and he may have something in his game where Curtis Blades better think twice before he gets on the ground with me. But dude, I think Curtis Blades is just going to be too heavy for him. Too heavy, too big for him. 3-inch height advantage, like a 30 pound advantage, basically. It's going to be too much. So I'm going to go with Curtis Blades by round 2 knockout or TKO. He'll just, round 1 and maybe Hockett's, because I think Hockett's going to be so, he may not show it, but I think he'll be very scared in round 1. I think he'll be very scared. He'll be fluttering him out. He'll be fluttering in and out, left, right, and he'll kind of gas himself out just on trying to make it look like, put a statement on round 1, and I'll go, oh, I'm gassed now. And Curtis Blades just stood there and took it. Now, he could KO Blades. Round 1 is the best time to KO Blades. He's a plotter. I can't trust him to KO Blades with that. He'd have to throw in a big, meaty overhand to get Blades gone. I don't know if Blades will let that happen, If... I feel like Rizvan Kuniev would have found it if he could have found that better than Blades. Almeida did nothing with it. Pavlovich found it later in the later rounds, but that's Pavlovich. Can Josh Hockett do what something Pavlovich did 2 years ago? I don't think so. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to pick against Josh Hockett. I do like him. I hope he wins. I'll be rooting for him. But Curtis Blades is a cool dude too. Like either whoever wins, I'm gonna be happy because Curtis Blades will get a title shot, or maybe that Alexander Volkanovski rematch. Because Volkanovski he's fighting Waldo Cortez Acosta. It's kind of weird who gets a title shot and who doesn't right now. The heavyweight division's all. The thing is, if Josh Hockett wins, it's gonna be way too stacked up and way too log jammed for anything. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Josh Hockett. I'm gonna go with Curtis Blades by round 2 KO. Moving up, co-main event, Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. What if I told you I'm not done picking underdogs? What if I told you I'm not done picking underdogs? I'm going with Paulo Costa. Azamat Murzakanov. I was thinking to myself, I'm crazy. I gotta go with Azamat Murzakanov. He's too good. But then you look at his record. Devin Clark. Dustin Jacoby's decent, but that's a decision. He couldn't even KO Dustin Jacoby. Alonzo Minifield, Brinson Ribeiro, and Alexander Rakic. Now, this was not even prime Rakic. This was washed Rakic. Paulo Costa, Roman Kopylov, absolute masterclass. Lost a split decision to Sean Strickland, I know that's common, but still, he looked decent against Sean Strickland. Whitaker decision loss, not the best looking. Luke Rockhold decision win, and then he lost to Victoria at a catchweight light heavyweight bout. But I think Murzakanov just not impressed me. You jab KO'd Rakic, you KO'd Brinson Ribeiro, and you got a decision win over Dustin Jacoby. Paulo Costa, though, I think he's going to be too quick. I think he's going to be slamming low kicks on Azamat Murzakanov. And also, it does help that Murzakanov failed drug tests before. So if I pick Paulo Costa and it loses, and then Murzakanov fails a drug test, I really didn't lose because that's a drug test that got overturned. So there's stuff and things like that that help my decision. Because I'll win either way because there's high chances Murzakonov's on roids. But yeah, Paulo Costa, I think he's just gonna be too quick. Gonna outkick him. Just gonna be bam, bam, left, right, up, down, left, right, low kick. Left, right, up, down, low kick. Azamat Murzakonov's heavy on that jab. You get a jab KO and you think it's going to be easy. But when that jab KO doesn't work and you're in there with a Paulo Costa floating around like a butterfly and stinging like, not a bee, stinging like, maybe like to be honest, bees don't sting that hard. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee with like cancer, maybe. Like a bee on its last legs. Like a bee in a retirement home that's just stinging just to get one last sting. You know what I'm saying? Paulo Costa just doesn't have that much sting. But I think that's going to be enough to pop around Azamat Murzakanov, dance around him, and get to a decision win over Murzakanov. I'm not that impressed with him. He's shown decent grappling against Rakic, that defensive grappling, so maybe he'll just run a grappling clinic on Costa. Just being too big for him. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Nothing I've seen from Azamat Murzakanov. I've seen nothing from Azamat Murzakanov where I think, dude, this guy's trouble. This guy's trouble. Bit of a flap. Paulo Costa, he's in shape. He's good cardio. I don't know if I can trust Azamat Murzakanov's cardio with what I think Paulo Costa's going to be doing, which is slamming body kicks, slamming low kicks, head kicks every once in a while, spinning back kicks, not kisses. That may burn. Azamat Murzakanov may lose his mind though if Paulo Costa goes in for a spinning back kiss though. I think he's just going to be too much for him. He's 5'10", Paulo Costa's 6'1". He's got a half an inch reach advantage, a bit of a leg reach disadvantage, but I think Costa can float around this guy and kind of dance circles around him and make this a gritty, not even gritty, make this like a clean technical kickboxing decision where he just kind of is one step ahead of Murzakanov throughout the whole entire fight. So I'm going to go with Paulo Costa by decision. That is a big underdog. I'm taking Paulo Costa as a plus 150 underdog. My goodness, it should be more. He's 2 years younger though. Murzakanov's 36. Costa's 34. Hopefully weigh-in days he'll look good. If he doesn't look good on weigh-in days, I may change my picks. That's why I like to do late picks, dude. I can get all the information, but I'm too excited for this card. I gotta get it done early. I also have work in 20, so I gotta hustle. Finally, main event. Just so you know, Joshua Van, Tetsuo Tato, the previous co-main event, was moved to UFC 328 because Van was injured. In case you didn't know that, now you do. My boy Van's still going to get it done. No matter what day, he's still going to get it done. But yeah, kind of ruins this card just a little bit. Just a little bit it ruins this card because then you would have gotten like a definitive who's the flyweight champion. Because you don't really know. Joshua Van, he's still kind of unproven. So you're not really too sure on who this flyweight champion really is. But moving up, main event. Let's get on to this. Yuri Prochazka, Carlos Ulberg, 32-5-1 versus 14-1. 6'3" versus 6'4", 80-inch reach versus a 77-inch reach, 45-inch leg reach versus a 43.5 leg reach. If you think I'm not picking Yuri Prochazka, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Yuri Prochazka, I'm picking him, dude. I don't think Ulberg has this legendary power that'll put Yuri away in round 1 or 2. I don't know what people are going on about. I'm seeing people go, dude, Ulberg catches him early and puts him away. Who has Ulberg caught early and put him away? Reyes? I'm sorry. A Wind could do that. Not Johnny Walker, but Wind could probably put both Johnny Walker and Reyes away in one gust. Okay? I don't think that Ulberg's this crazy guy where if you get hit with him, it's the touch of death. Now, Yuri isn't really either, Yuri kind of builds up. He's not like a super volume crazy guy who relies on volume to get his KOs, but it's a lot of setup and a lot of chaos that leads to that KO blow that Yuri has. But, let's just look at Carlos Ulberg's last couple wins. Daewoo Young. He submitted him, rear naked choked him, but Daewoo Young would corner Ulberg up against the cage and kind of not really let go, but Ulberg looked super uncomfortable with his back right up against the cage, giving him flashbacks to the Chidi Njokuani KO loss that he has. He looks very uncomfortable when people put him on the back foot. Very, very uncomfortable when people put him on the back foot and he can't counter off of that, when his counters don't work. Up next, Alonzo Minifield. He KOs Alonzo Minifield. Really? 4 fights ago, Reyes was KOing prime Alexander Rakic. Anyways, up next we have Volkan Ozdemir. Wins what I would say is maybe possibly a robbery. Let's real quick look at... Okay, the one time I want to look at Ulberg. There we go. Let's really quick look at this fight. How do I go here? Oh yeah, I was on this. I was watching this. Ozdemir Ulberg. Round 1. I thought Ulberg won. Landed the better strikes. Round 2. Yeah, you can have round 2 actually Ulberg won. Now that I think about it, basically dead even on strikes. I thought Ulberg landed the better strikes. Let's get on. I don't even know what we're talking about. What are we even talking about, guys? Let's just ignore that. Anyways, super fight with Volkan Ozdemir. Super, super close fight with out-of-prime Volkan Ozdemir. And maybe you say styles make fights. They're just both kind of not really going for anything. And Yuri's going to leave himself open to getting KO'd by Ulberg like Reyes did. Okay, Jan Blachowicz. Also, very incredibly close fight that he could have lost, arguably did lose. Yuri is not going to split decisions, almost losses with these kind of guys. He's just not. And again, like I said, maybe that's just styles make fights, and Yuri Prochazka will never go to a finish, and, that kind of style where he's always going for a finish will get him caught by Ulberg. But I think if he gets caught by Ulberg, him getting caught's the worst thing ever, because he becomes a different beast. When Yuri Prochazka gets caught with something, he is upset with himself and he goes, okay, let me do something. He's kind of smart. He's very slick with things that you don't really notice until they start taking shape. Those teeps to the body against Khalil. Throughout the whole entire fight, he just kind of peppers them. Not too many in a row, not too hard, just kind of slightly there every once in a while. And you're like, okay, that's a nice teep. And then it adds up, and then you're like, dude, Khalil's all gassed out. Ulberg's never gone 5 rounds. Never gone five rounds. I don't think he's gonna be able to withstand the pressure of Yuri Prochazka when so many other better fighters, in my opinion, have folded. Yuri Prochazka's lost to Alex Pereira in the UFC. That's all he's lost to in the UFC. Alex Pereira twice. They were KOs. It was not the best look, and he was giving Pereira trouble in that first fight, and then he got caught. And then round two, and then the second rematch. We don't talk about the rematch, but I don't see Ulberg being slick enough where he can get. The thing is, Ulberg, he's not gonna really be on that front foot too often. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like to be on that front foot, and when he does, you're just gonna teep to the body as soon as he starts. As soon as he starts seeing Ulberg push forward, he's gonna do something to make him pay for that. Ulberg's just not the type of guy to kind of, oh, I'm gonna push you back and I'm gonna throw this combination. I got this combination in mind and you're gonna feel it, pal. Pereira's kind of very methodical in that way. He'll set up that low kick. He'll set something up where he's all right off the low kick. If he starts doing this, I'm gonna bam that lead hook, that left hook, bam, and then follow with the right, and then all right, this round I've been going these low kicks all the time. I'm gonna do the switch kick to the head, and bam, gets him out cold. Ulberg's very technical, CKB boxing. But you've seen recently, those guys are not living up. Dan Hooker's kind of failing, Adesanya's kind of failing. It's just I don't know how much I trust that anymore. You got Volkanovski he's still surviving, but that's because Volkanovski's kind of a next level talent. Do I think Ulberg is this next level talent where he's got this X factor? He's got this thing that's just something different about him, something that even Yuri won't be able to take away from him. That's what Alex Pereira had. He has that X factor. He has that X factor. He has that power. He's got that something. I don't think Ulberg has that. I think you need something. You need to be really good, and then you need to have something else on top of that to beat Yuri Prochazka. And I don't think Carlos Ulberg has that. So I'm gonna go with a Yuri Prochazka round 4 or 5 KO, maybe even round 3. But I'm gonna say round 1, worst round for Yuri. He'll get chopped up. He'll get countered. Ulberg's gonna look really good. He's gonna look really good for the first 2 rounds, and Yuri's gonna kind of have to try and work his way back in. But once he starts figuring out that Ulberg doesn't like certain ways, he doesn't like how he pressures this way or that way. Yuri, like I said, he's very slick and he's very technical when seeing, oh, you don't like this. Oh, you don't like this at all, do you? Okay. I'm gonna now kill you using this knowledge that I have. He's the Viking samurai. I don't think it's healthy to doubt Yuri Prochazka. I really don't think it's healthy to. So I'm gonna have to go with the Yuri Prochazka late rounds KO, and I'm settling in. I'm gonna lock in around 4 KO, but I could see around 3 or around 5. Just as Ulberg gets, slowly and slowly, he's kind of pressured. I have work. That was perfect time, and I gotta end this and go to work. But as he slowly kind of traps Ulberg closer and closer to where he wants him to be, then he'll just unleash something nasty. And when Yuri Prochazka gets onto you with something that's mean and nasty, dude, you don't survive. You don't survive it. Pereira kind of put him away before he could start bringing him into that dogfight. But Ulberg's never really had a dog fight. He's never had a dog fight. He's had a couple dog fights. A couple maybe like puppy fights is what you could call them. But he's never had a dog fight. And Yuri Prochazka makes every fight a dog fight if you let him. So yeah, Yuri Prochazka, round 4 KO. Don't be funny, make some money, buy the numbers. Hope y'all enjoyed this early prediction video. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Hey, like, comment, subscribe. Let's go. But yeah. Comment who you think the lock of the card is. I think a pretty obvious lock of the card is Curtis Blades. That's a pretty good lock. And I think Gamrot's a pretty good lock just because of, how we've seen these young lightweight guys kind of try and come up and, go against these older guys, and they always fall flat. And maybe Kelvin Gastelum's a decent lock of the card. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed. Do I say don't be funny, make some money one more time? I think I do. Don't be funny, make some money, buy the numbers. Peace out. Like, comment, subscribe one last time. We'll wait for 49 minutes.